What is up, REI marketing nerds? This is Daniel Bear here from AdWordsNerds.com. How are you? You wonderful people. So I'm going to be doing these regular lives to discuss what we are seeing in the Google Ads data. Obviously, right now, I'm recording this. It is March 23rd. And, look, the entire COVID-19 situation is very rapidly changing. Its effects on the real estate market are still kind of up in the air. It's very hard to tell. But I know investors in general are kind of nervous, and I think that's completely a rational thing to be, right? So right now, what I want to do is I'm going to make these lives a regular thing. And basically what I'm going to do is show you what we see in the Google Ads data. Now, where does our data come from? We have probably the biggest data set on motivated seller keywords outside of Google. Basically because we're the only agency who really focuses. No, actually that's not true. That's not true anymore. There are other agencies, but we've been doing this the longest in terms of really focusing on investors. So we have a lot of historical data, and we have a really wide-ranging set of current data because we've got clients all over the country. We're one of the biggest companies in this space. So the data set that I'm sharing is literally just all of our client data. And I'm trying to have this on the screen where I don't accidentally show all our client accounts here. So if you're wondering why I have this specifically the way it's set up, that's why. But I'm going to share this data set with you guys and just kind of let you know what we see. And let me see if I can just shrink this screen of mine a little bit. Anyway, I think I'm fine. I don't know if you guys are seeing some kind of weird thing. Maybe you are. But if you're good, cool. So let's talk about the data set. Let's talk about what we're seeing right now. Now, if you watch my last video about kind of what's happening in the market in general, you may remember that February nationally was an incredible kind of record month for the last couple years. It was one of the highest volume of home sales months the last 2 years. And we saw that reflected in the Google Ads data. So for example, if you blow this data back, let's go back to January. Okay. Come on. It's being weird because I'm trying not to scroll down the screen here. Let's just do this real quick. All right. So if you, here we go. So if you look at January, and let's do this monthly to make this a little bit easier to see. So February here is kind of like a peak. Actually, let's blow this back a little bit so you can have a little more context here. Let's do this 9/2019. We'll just move this up real quick and then move it back down. Okay, boom. All right. So what you kind of see here is a blue line is conversions, which are leads, right? And impressions are red, which is generally just kind of like the number of searches. It's the number of people that are seeing the ads. You can see kind of in September, we had about 2.5 million impressions, down to 2 million impressions in October. December, we're down to 1.5, and then start to pick back up. In February, for impressions, we had almost 4 million. Really high number, probably the highest peak, one of the peaks over the last 2 years. So really significant. So February, in general, the market went into a real peak in terms of amount of homes sold, total number of searches, total number of leads. The cost per lead came down significantly. So it was a month where with a lot of activity, a lot of progress was being made. So we're coming off a peak in general, right? So that's important to note because even without COVID-19, even without the coronavirus or anything happening, we would expect some kind of regression to the mean to occur, right? Anytime you have like a peak moment, peak experience or whatever, you expect the next one to be slightly closer to the average. And in generally, that's been happening. But if you look at sort of impression volume, so impression volume, now we're at weeks, by the way, so we're going into the week level now. So impression volume the week of February 24th was 159,000. It's actually down a little bit. So in general, the beginning of February is really strong and sort of started to dip down a little bit. Week of March 2nd, we ticked back up to 1.2 million impressions. down to 762,000 impressions in the week of March 9th. So what was really interesting to me is that there was a significant drop off in volume between the week of March 2nd and the week of March 9th. We were still a little better than we were the last week in February, or significantly better than we were the last week of February, which is pretty interesting. So you got to think about February is this peak month, but the end of February was slow. We came back up in March real hard, sort of ticked down a little bit, and then we've started to tick back up. If you look at last week, which is the week of March 16th, as I'm recording this, 857,000 impressions. Now, here's the really interesting thing, right? There's a lot of variation in terms of impression volume. That's probably the metric that's the most up and down in terms of when you look at kind of Google Ads data like this. But if you look at conversions, pretty steady, right? So we had, 21. That number is really weird. Is that true? 21 impressions? It seems weird. Maybe my data is, let's take this back to the beginning of February. My data might be a little messed up here because of my, my week choices. Okay. But you can kind of see here, right? Conversion volume. So you see this red line is impressions. There's a lot of variation, right? Up, down, kind of over the course of the weeks. That's typically what we expect, right? Searches are the number that have the most variation just week over week. But when you look at lead volume, okay, so look at lead volume here, 222, 192, 190, 193, 213, 230, 222, right? Very stable compared to the impression volume. So here's kind of one of the things that I would point out. We are seeing significant ups and downs in impression volume. I can't honestly point to anything and say this is because of coronavirus, this is because of COVID-19. I don't see any real discernible pattern there that's going to allow me to do that. What I am noticing is that the total volume of leads is very stable. So while we are seeing variation in terms of impressions, I haven't seen it affect lead volume at all yet. If anything, lead volume is actually doing really well. So one of the lessons I take from this, and I'm going to keep updating it because again, who knows what's going to happen, right? But what I am seeing right now is that in terms of lead volume, meaning people searching and actually filling out forms, I don't see any drop off, like at all. And if anything, we're actually doing really well. So let's look at cost per lead. Let's look at cost per lead. It's hard to do this with my cost per conversion. There you go. All right, so let's look at cost per conversion now. We'll take this out. Now, cost per conversion, what do you see? 272, 300, 317, 272, 283, 256, 221. So actually coming down. So remember, this is a national average, so it includes markets like, oh yeah, Deval says, how about comparing to this time last year? That's a good call, Deval. We can do that. But generally, right, like ticking down, really not bad. I mean, I think if you look at, so let's look at, so he wants to pull it back to 2019. That is a good idea. Oop. Okay. So let's bring back impressions. Let's bring back conversions. Ugh, sorry guys. I'm going to be honest. I do not like the new Google Ads interface. I know it's better. Yada, yada, yada. Let's change this to, oh, okay, it's monthly, right? So let's see. So average impression volume. Certainly down over this time. Well, oh, geez, man, look at this. So, all right, impression volume. February 2019, 3 million, right? May of 2019, 3 million. Drops down 2.2 million in July, 2.5 million, 2.6 million, keeps dropping down October, 2 million. So this was really kind of a slowdown period for us. 2 million, 1.8, 1.6, right? Then in January, 3 million again. February, 4 million. So let's see, February last year. So we're a full million impressions higher in February of 2020 than we were in February of 2019. Now let's look at March 2020. We got 3 million so far in March 2020 in terms of impression volume. We had 2.8 million. So we're not even done with this month yet. So March 2020 is going to outperform March 2019 in terms of impression volume, which is pretty cool. Now, when we look at conversion volume in February, we had 944 in 2019. February 2020, we had 832. So slightly lower. And then in March 2020 so far, we have 686. So March 2019, we had 1,000. So impression volume up, lead volume certainly down. Yeah, pretty interesting. So there is actually a tick down in conversion volume when you blow it out. So let's see. So September. So February, we had 832 impressions. This month, we're probably on track to do that. Let's see, it's the 23rd. Maybe. We'll see. Let's break this out into weekly. Oh, you can't do it because the scale is too high. Yeah, so conversion volume is certainly up here and certainly down over here, but we have a lot of people searching, which is really interesting. I wonder if you look at conversion rate, what happens? The conversion rate. Yeah, so conversion rate at the red, let's see. March we had 3.34. March here at 2.2. So, yeah, not too far off. Not too far off at all. So what I would say here is, when you look at the trend of, like, let's say the last year, we are basically on track. If you look at like what we're doing over the last 6 months or so. Deval says, first of all, thanks for the year conversion. Based on what I'm saying, it points to a lot of impressions, which means that COVID-19 may be playing a role. Fear of lost jobs may be putting people on the internet start looking at their options. Yeah, I do think that might be true. If you look at impression volume, year over year, right? So what do you see? There's a gradual decline. Basically, all of 2019 through 2020, basically all of 2019, we saw a pretty steady impression decline, right? Just gradual month over month impression decline. And then all of a sudden, like January start to tick up. February, we tick up a lot, right? So a lot of impression volume. Now, conversion volume hasn't seen the same tick up. We actually saw more conversion volume in September, October, etc. But there's a lot of traffic right now, man. Yeah, and Deval, I think that's actually a good point. Deval is saying, hey, like, since there's such a big spike these last couple months, this might mean that people are out there looking at their options. I think that's very possible. Now, when you look at it in terms of, so like February, there's a huge spike in February, but February, I don't feel like COVID-19 was such a big deal in the United States in February. Maybe I'm misremembering that. I mean, it's like one of these things, man, where it's like, I don't know about you guys, but it's like time all blends together, right? So it's like, I don't even know like when things are happening anymore. But really, really interesting time. One of the things I'm going to point out here, and one of the things I'm going to encourage people to do just in general as part of like adapting to this kind of new normal or whatever, I think the importance of SEO for motivated sellers is higher now than it's ever been, right? Deval's saying if people out there looking for their options. There are a lot of people right now that are hitting your websites potentially, right, that have no idea what an investor is, have never looked at one, never thought they would need to look at one, right? So this is a really good time to get out there in multiple channels and put out what I call be helpful campaigns. It's like content that helps people, social media posts that help people, give people some sense of security, some sense of leadership, because it's really, really critical. I've got to go. I've got a call, but I wanted to make sure I got out there and did this live. Deval, thank you for your comments, man. That was it was really helpful. I should have thought of that to look at the year over year. I didn't think of it. But really, really interesting spike here, people. This is a very important time to be. I mean, the other weird thing is that actually our client load is lower here. So this is kind of artificially lowering our conversion rate, our conversion numbers. But when you look at the conversion rates, we are actually not that far off. So not only are we significantly higher in terms of amount of impressions, but they're not converting that much differently than any other time during the year. This is a really good time to get out there and do some marketing. If you're not doing any PPC, it's a good time to try. If you're not, you don't have to pay for it. Do SEO, get on your Facebook timeline, just your timeline, not your page. Get out there, go live, teach people what you do, give people help, give people some hope. Don't get out there and make a hard pitch on everybody right away, because it's going to be a bad look. But get out there and legitimately be helpful. There's a really big opportunity here for the people that are willing to grab it. And Deval, thank you again for your comments, man. Super, super helpful. I do these to kind of like center my own thoughts. We send out kind of really in-depth kind of breakdowns to all our clients. So it's good to kind of get that practice getting here with you guys. Hope you are all well. And I will talk to you very soon. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.